All right, welcome everyone to another deep dive. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Roman Empire.
Ooh, exciting.
It is, yeah. And you know what's really cool about this one is that we've got like a bunch of different types of sources.
Right.
We've got a travel guide to Rome. It's
Cool.
like, if you were actually going to go visit.
Okay.
And we've got a historical timeline,
Okay.
kind of laying out, the whole rise and fall, all the big events, the emperors and all that.
hmm
And then we've also got some YouTube blogs from people who've actually, been there,
Awesome.
walked around those ancient streets.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So we've got kind of the practical, the historical, and then the real, people on the ground kind of a view.
yeah, exactly. So I'm really excited to kind of like pull all this together
Yeah.
and see what we can find out about Rome.
Sure.
Not just like the history, but also what it's like to visit today.
Yeah, how it all kind of connects together.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm really interested to see what this travel guide says. I mean, Rome is, considered one of the top European destinations, but what makes it so special?
Well, yeah, the travel guide actually calls it out as like the best place in Europe. If you want like the history, the culture, the visual appeal, it's all there.
Right, right. It's not just about ruins, is it?
No, it's like it's a living city built on top of this ancient foundation.
Yeah, and that's what's so cool about Rome. You can be walking down a street and pass by a ruin that's thousands of years old, and then boom, there's a modern cafe right next to it.
Yeah.
It's like this constant reminder of how the past is still present there.
Yeah, the guide actually points out that like even the street layout
hmm
often follows the routes of those old Roman roads.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. It's like
Well,
you're literally walking in the footsteps of, emperors and gladiators and, everyday Romans.
it's mind-blowing when you think about it.
Yeah. And it really makes it like a perfect place to really dive into the stories of the Roman Empire,
hmm
like not just the big battles and emperors, but also, their military strategies, how they built those amazing
It's
structures.
everyday life, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like how did they live? What did they eat? What were their beliefs?
Right, right. So, where do we start? This is a lot of ground to cover.
Well, let's start with like one of the most iconic Roman landmarks, the Colosseum.
Okay, the Colosseum. I mean, everyone's seen pictures of it. What does the guide tell us about it?
Well, construction started in 72 AD,
Okay.
and get this, it could hold 50,000 spectators.
50,000. That's huge. Like a modern day stadium.
Yeah, I know. It makes you wonder, like, what kind of events could fill a place that big back then?
Yeah, what was going on there?
Well, they had gladiatorial combat, animal hunts.
Oh, wow.
Like, they'd bring in exotic animals from all over the empire.
That's wild.
Yeah. And then they also had dramatic performances, plays, and stuff like that.
Huh. So it wasn't just about, blood and guts.
No, it was like their entertainment hub. A bit of something for everyone, I guess.
Right, right. It's interesting to think about how they used entertainment to, keep the people happy.
Well, yeah, the guide talks about the whole bread and circuses thing, like,
Oh.
keep the masses entertained and they won't cause too much trouble.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, that idea is still around today in different forms, right?
Totally. So you can actually visit the Colosseum today.
You can.
Yeah. And they even have guided tours. The travel guide says they cost like $43 to $61, depending on the type of tour.
Okay, that's not bad.
No, not at all. And the vlogs, like, really bring it to life. You can see people walking through those arches,
Oh, wow.
imagining the crowds, the emperors, the gladiators.
It must be such a powerful experience to be there in person.
Yeah, and the guide says it's like a real testament to the Romans' engineering skills. I mean, how did they build something that massive back then?
Yeah, that's what always gets me. Their engineering was so advanced for the time. What did they use? Like concrete.
Yeah, they were masters of concrete, and they had these, like, really sophisticated techniques for lifting and placing those huge stones.
I mean, it's still standing today, right? So they must have done something right.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
So we've got the Colosseum. What else? What other sites does the guide highlight?
Okay, so right near the Colosseum is the Roman Forum.
The Forum. Okay, I've heard of that. What was it exactly?
Well, the guide says it was like the heart of ancient Rome,
Okay.
like the center of their political, religious, and social life.
So, like, their main square, their marketplace, their government buildings, all in one place.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And the vlogs show people walking through these, like, stone paths, past the ruins of temples, government buildings, markets.
Wow.
And you can just imagine, senators debating laws, or people buying and selling goods, or like triumphant armies parading through after victory.
Stepping back in time.
Yeah, and the guide actually points out specific spots like the Senate House and the Regia, which was like the king's residence,
Okay.
way back when Rome was still a monarchy.
Right.
So it's like you're walking through layers upon layers of history.
It's incredible to think about all the events that must have unfolded in that space.
Yeah, and one of the vloggers actually talks about like feeling the ghosts of Rome's past as they walk through the Forum.
Ooh, that's spooky.
Yeah, I know. And then just a short walk from the Forum is Palatine Hill.
Palatine Hill. Okay. What's there?
Well, this is cool. The guide calls it the heart of Roman history,
Okay.
and even like the mythical founding place of Rome.
What do you mean mythical?
Well, like, according to legend, this is where Romulus founded Rome way back in 753 BC.
Oh, right. The whole Romulus and Remus story.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's always been this like really important symbolic place.
Okay.
And later on, it became like prime real estate.
Like Beverly Hills for ancient Rome.
Pretty much like emperors built their palaces there.
Mm.
You can still see the ruins of the Domus Slevia and the Domus Augusti, which was Emperor Augustus's palace.
Wow. So it's like from the very beginning of Rome, right up through the empire, it was a place of power.
Yeah, exactly. And the views from Palatine Hill are amazing.
You can see the whole Forum from there.
Yeah, you get this like panoramic view of the whole ancient city. It's pretty spectacular.
Okay, so we've got the Colosseum, the Forum, Palatine Hill. What else is on this Roman history tour?
All right, so the next stop is the Pantheon.
The Pantheon. Now that's what I'm really fascinated by. That dome is just incredible.
I know, right? The guide calls it one of the greatest examples of Roman architecture.
Well, it's still standing, so they must have done something right.
Yeah, and it was built like way back around 126 AD. Can you believe that?
Seriously. And they didn't have like modern cranes and stuff back then.
Nope. And that dome, it's massive.
Okay.
And it's made entirely of unreinforced concrete.
Unreinforced? How does that even work?
It's mind-boggling, right? And then there's the oculus, that circular opening at the top.
Oh, yeah, the oculus. It lets light in, right? But it also seems like a structural weakness.
You'd think so, but somehow it all works. And then inside, you've got these beautiful marble floors and these like grand Corinthian columns.
It sounds so impressive.
It is. And over the centuries, it's been used for different things. Like it was originally a temple to all the Roman gods.
Makes sense. Pantheon, all the gods.
Exactly. But later on, it became a church.
Okay.
It's also a burial place for some important figures, like the artist Raphael.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's like it's had all these different layers of history and meaning added to it over time.
Yeah, and it really shows how Rome is this like blend of ancient and modern, pagan and Christian all mixed together.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Okay, so after the Pantheon, where are we headed?
Okay, so next up, we're going to the Circo Massimo.
Circo Massimo. Now that rings a bell. What was that again?
Well, it was a chariot racing stadium.
Oh, right. Chariot races. Like Ben-Hur.
Yeah, exactly like that. And get this, it was huge. It could hold up to 150,000 spectators.
150,000. That's even bigger than the Colosseum.
I know, it was like the largest stadium in ancient Rome. And they didn't just have chariot races there. They also had religious festivals and all sorts of public events.
So it was like a multi-purpose venue?
Yeah, kind of like a modern-day sports and entertainment complex.
Right, right. And is it still there? Can you visit it today?
Yeah, it's still there, but it's mostly just like expansive grounds now.
Mm.
But they do have informational signs.
Okay,
And sometimes they offer guided tours.
cool.
And one of the vlogs shows this guy walking through it.
Okay.
And he's just like blown away by the size of it, you know?
Mm.
And he's talking about like imagining the roar of the crowd,
Right.
the chariots racing around the track.
That must have been so exciting to watch.
I know. And the views from there are supposed to be amazing. You can see Palatine Hill and a bunch of other ruins.
So it's like you get this amazing sense of the scale and grandeur of ancient Rome from there.
Yeah, and the video actually points out that they still use it for some events today, like concerts.
Wow, that's cool. So
Wow.
ancient history meets modern entertainment.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so next on our Roman venture is a place called Piazza Navona.
Piazza Navona. Okay, that's a new one. What is that, like a square?
Yeah, it's a big public square.
Okay.
And it's got this really cool mix of like Baroque architecture and ancient Roman ruins.
So it's not just like straight up ancient Roman stuff.
No, it's like different layers of history all in one place.
I like that.
Yeah. And the guide says it was actually built on the site of the Stadium of Domitian, which was another ancient Roman stadium.
Oh, wow.
And the centerpiece of the piazza is this incredible fountain called the Fountain of the Four Rivers.
Okay.
And it was designed by Bernini, who was like a really famous Baroque sculptor.
Ooh, I've heard of Bernini.
Yeah, he was a big deal back in the 17th century. And the fountain is like really elaborate
Yeah.
with all these sculptures and stuff. And then around the piazza, you've got all these charming boutiques and traditional Roman trattorias, those little restaurants.
What?
So it's a really lively, bustling place, especially in the evening.
So it's like you can soak up the history and then grab some dinner and do some shopping all in one place.
Exactly. It's a great spot to just like hang out and experience the vibe of Rome.
I'm adding it to my list. Okay, what's next?
All right, so after Piazza Navona, we're headed to the Imperial Forums.
The Imperial Forums. Okay, now this is where I start to get a little lost. How are they different from the Roman Forum?
Okay, so the Roman Forum was like the original forum.
Right.
But as Rome grew and became more powerful, they needed more space for like government buildings and stuff.
Okay.
So different emperors started building their own forums, like these big complexes with temples, basilicas, and all sorts of public buildings.
So they were like extensions of the original forum.
Yeah, exactly. And each forum was kind of like a monument to the emperor who built it.
I see. So like each emperor wanted to leave their mark on the city.
Yeah, pretty much. And one of the most famous examples is the Forum of Caesar, which was built by, Julius Caesar.
Oh, right. Of
Mhm.
course.
And then there's the Forum of Augustus, the Forum of Trajan, and so on. And there's this road called the Via dei Fori Imperiali that runs right through the middle of them all.
So you can walk along this road and see all these different forums from different periods of Roman history.
Yeah, it's like a walk through time. And near the Imperial Forums is Trajan's Column.
Trajan's Column. I remember seeing pictures of that. What was it for?
Well, it was built to commemorate Emperor Trajan's victories in the Dacian Wars.
Okay.
And it's covered in these really intricate carvings
Yeah.
that depict scenes from the wars.
Wow. So it's like a giant war memorial.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's also a really impressive feat of engineering. It's like 125 feet tall, and it's made of like 20 massive marble drums.
It's amazing how they were able to build things like that back then.
I know. It really makes you appreciate their skill and ingenuity.
Hmm.
Okay, so next up are the Baths of Caracalla.
Baths of Caracalla. Okay, so we're talking about like public baths, like a Roman spa.
Yeah, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But they were way more than just baths. They were like these massive complexes with hot and cold baths, swimming pools, gymnasiums, gardens.
Wow. So like a whole leisure center?
Yeah, pretty much. They even had libraries.
Seriously. So you could like go for a swim, work out, read a book all in one place.
Yeah, and they were a really important part of Roman social life.
Like a place to meet people and hang out.
Exactly. And the ruins are still really impressive. You can see the remains of the different bathing areas,
Okay.
the marble decorations, even parts of the water system, like the aqueducts and pipes that brought water to the baths.
So they had like running water and plumbing back then.
Oh, yeah. The Romans were really advanced when it came to water engineering.
It's incredible to think about how they managed to build these like massive structures and infrastructure.
I know. And it really shows how important bathing and hygiene were to them.
Makes sense. I mean, everyone needs a good bath now and then.
Exactly.
Okay, so what's the last stop on our Roman tour?
Okay, so the last stop is the Capitoline Museums.
Capitoline Museums. Okay, tell me about them.
Well, the guide says they're the world's oldest public museums.
Oldest public museums. Wow. That's a claim to fame.
Yeah. And they're located atop Capitoline Hill, which is one of the 7 hills of Rome.
Okay.
And they house a huge collection of artifacts from ancient Rome, like sculptures, mosaics, inscriptions.
Okay.
And they're really important for understanding Roman history, culture, and art.
So what are some of the highlights of the collection? Anything really stand out?
Well, there's a really famous statue of Emperor Marcus Aurelius on horseback.
Oh, yeah, I've seen pictures of that.
Yeah, it's really impressive. And then there's a sculpture called the Dying Gaul, which is really powerful.
Okay.
And then there are tons of other amazing pieces like busts of Roman emperors, senators,
Cool.
mosaics depicting scenes from Roman mythology, and all sorts of everyday objects like pottery and tools.
It's like you get this glimpse into what life was really like back then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the views from the museums are amazing too.
Huh.
You can see the Roman Forum from up there. So it's a great place to kind of like tie everything together,
Yeah.
see all the different aspects of Roman history and culture in one place.
So we've talked about all these incredible sites, and it's given us a really vivid picture of Roman life and culture. But I feel like we need a bit more context, like how did this empire even come to be? And how did it all fall apart?
Yeah, okay, good point. So remember that historical timeline we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
Well, that lays out the whole rise and fall of the Roman Empire.
Okay.
So it starts with the legendary founding of Rome in 753 BC by Romulus.
Oh, yeah, the Romulus and Remus story. But wasn't the actual founding a bit later than that?
Yeah, the actual founding is thought to be sometime between 625 and 600 BC.
Okay, but that's still like over 2,500 years ago.
I know, it's ancient history.
So how did they go from like a small city-state to this massive empire?
Well, it was a long process, but the timeline lays out some of the key events. Like
Hmm.
in 509 BC, they overthrew the monarchy and established the Roman Republic. And then there were all these conflicts with neighboring peoples like the Etruscans and the Gauls.
Right.
And through these conflicts, they gradually expanded their territory and their power.
And they had to figure out how to govern all these different people and territories.
Exactly. And so they developed this really sophisticated legal system and this like really effective military organization.
And they were also really good at assimilating conquered peoples, right? Like making them feel like they were part of the Roman world.
Yeah, they weren't just about brute force. They also used diplomacy and cultural exchange to expand their influence. And then there were the Punic Wars against Carthage.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of those. Weren't those like really important for Rome's rise to power?
Yeah, they were crucial. Carthage was this like major rival power in the Mediterranean, and Rome basically had to defeat them to become the dominant force in the region.
And those wars lasted for like over a century, right?
Yeah, they were brutal. But in the end, Rome won and they destroyed Carthage. And so by the first century BC, Rome was like the superpower of the Mediterranean world.
They controlled like most of Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East.
Yeah, it was a huge empire. But with great power comes great instability. Right?
Yeah, that's what usually happens. So what led to the decline of the Roman Republic?
Well, there were a lot of factors, but one of the big ones was growing inequality.
Okay.
Like you had this small group of wealthy elites who controlled most of the power and wealth, while the majority of the population was struggling.
So kind of like what we're seeing in some parts of the world today.
Yeah, and that led to a lot of social unrest and political instability.
Right.
And then you had the rise of powerful generals like Julius Caesar.
Oh, yeah, Caesar. He was a big deal.
He was.
Yeah.
And he basically used his military success and his popularity with the people to seize power.
Okay.
And that led to a civil war.
And Caesar was eventually assassinated, right?
Yeah, in 44 BC. But even though he was gone, the Republic was basically beyond saving.
Right. Too much damage had been done.
Exactly. And so, after a period of more civil wars, his adopted son, Octavian, later known as Augustus, emerged as the first emperor of Rome.
So that marked the beginning of the Roman Empire.
Yeah, in 27 BC. And the empire would go on to last for centuries, but it wasn't all smooth sailing.
Right. There were periods of great prosperity and peace, but also a lot of turmoil and decline.
Yeah, exactly. So, under Augustus, they had this period called the Pax Romana, which means Roman peace.
Okay.
And it was this like 200-year period of relative peace and stability.
That must have been a good time to be alive in the Roman Empire.
Yeah, I think so. But even during the Pax Romana, there were still problems like corruption and revolts.
Right. No empire is perfect.
And then in the 3rd century AD, things started to get really bad.
Like what happened?
Well, they had this period called the crisis of the 3rd century.
Okay.
And it was this like perfect storm of problems. They had economic problems like inflation and high taxes.
Right.
They had political instability with all these different emperors coming and going, some of them assassinated.
Yeah.
And they had military threats from all sides, like the Germanic tribes invading from the north and the Persians attacking from the east.
So they were basically getting squeezed from all directions.
Yeah, pretty much. And so the empire started to crumble.
So what did they do?
Well, in 284 AD, this emperor named Diocletian came to power, and he implemented a bunch of reforms to try to stabilize the empire.
Like what kind of reforms?
Well, he divided the empire into two halves, the Western Roman Empire and the Eastern Roman Empire.
Okay.
And he also introduced a bunch of economic and administrative changes.
And did it work? Did it save the empire?
Well, it kind of bought them some time. But in the long run, the Western Roman Empire continued to decline.
And eventually collapsed.
The traditional date for the fall of the Western Roman Empire is 476 AD, when the last Roman emperor in the West, Romulus Augustulus, was deposed by a Germanic general.
Wow, so that was the end of the Roman Empire.
Well, not quite. The Eastern Roman Empire, which became known as the Byzantine Empire, continued on for another 1,000 years.
Okay.
But the Western Roman Empire was gone, and Europe entered the Middle Ages.
Wow, that's a lot of history. And it's crazy to think that it all started in that little city on the Tiber River.
I know, right? And speaking of the Tiber River, One thing that really struck me in the National Geographic video was how important the sea was to the Roman Empire.
Oh, yeah, the sea. It wasn't just about land power for them.
No, not at all. They were a maritime power too.
Mm.
They needed to control the sea, to trade, to get food, to move their armies around.
Right. I mean, Rome was this huge city with over 1 million people at its peak,
Yeah, they needed a lot of food to feed all those people.
and they couldn't grow it all themselves.
Exactly. They had to import grain from other parts of the empire, especially Egypt.
So they needed a strong navy to protect those grain shipments.
Yeah. And they also needed good ports.
And that's where the lost port of Portus comes in, right?
Exactly. The video talks about how Portus was this like massive artificial harbor that they built near Ostia at the mouth of the Tiber River.
So they didn't just conquer ports, they built their own.
Yeah, they were amazing engineers. And Portus was this like really innovative port. He had this hexagonal basin.
A hexagon. Why a hexagon?
Well, it was a really efficient shape for maximizing space and minimizing wave action.
Ah, that makes sense.
And they had all these warehouses and granaries built around the basin, and they had a canal system connecting it to the Tiber River.
So they could unload the grain from the ships and then transport it upriver to Rome.
Yeah, it was a really sophisticated system.
It's incredible to think about the scale of this operation. Like, how much grain were they importing?
The video says it was something like 150 to 300 million tons of grain annually.
That's a lot of grain.
It is. And Portus was specifically designed to handle that massive influx of goods.
So it was like a vital artery for the Roman Empire.
Yeah, it was essential for feeding the city of Rome and keeping the empire running.
And the video also talked about how they found shipwrecks near Portus, like the Boufferet.
Oh yeah, the Boufferet. That was a really cool discovery.
What did they find on it?
Well, it was carrying all sorts of goods, like fish sauce.
Fish sauce.
Yeah, apparently the Romans loved fish sauce. And they also found lead ingots with the emperor's mark on them.
The emperor's mark, so like official imperial cargo.
Yeah, and some historians think that lead might have been destined for Nero after the Great Fire of Rome in 64 AD.
Oh, wow. That's a direct connection to a major historical event.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can learn from these shipwrecks. They really bring the past to life.
Yeah, it's not just about objects, it's about the stories they tell.
Exactly. And the video also talked about other Roman harbors, like Caesarea Maritima in Judea.
Caesarea Maritima. I've heard of that. It was like an artificial harbor, right?
Yeah, the Romans actually built the harbor from scratch.
Wow, that must have been a huge undertaking.
It was, and they used this special kind of concrete that could set underwater, which was a really innovative technique at the time.
And Caesarea Maritima became like a major port city.
Yeah, it was a really important hub for trade and commerce.
And it was also a symbol of Roman power and engineering.
Exactly. So, we've talked about all these amazing historical sites and all this fascinating history, but what if someone actually wants to go visit Rome today?
Right, right. What does the travel guide say about that?
Well, it's got a ton of practical tips for planning a trip.
Okay, like what?
Well, first of all, it says you should definitely book your tickets in advance, especially for popular attractions like the Colosseum and the Pantheon.
Yeah, that makes sense. You don't want to waste time standing in line.
Exactly. And it also says that you should try to visit early in the morning or late in the afternoon to avoid the crowds.
Red tip.
Yeah, because Rome can get really crowded, especially during peak season.
Right.
And then in terms of getting around, it recommends using public transportation, like the buses and the metro.
Okay.
It says that they're pretty efficient and affordable.
Good to know.
Yeah. And it also recommends learning a few basic Italian phrases like grazie and per favore.
Yeah, that's always a good idea when you're traveling to a foreign country.
Yeah, it shows that you're making an effort, and it can make your trip a lot smoother.
Plus, Italians are known for being really friendly and welcoming.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. And then in terms of like practical things, it says you should definitely bring comfortable shoes.
Yeah, with all that walking on cobblestones, I bet.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to be wearing high heels.
No way.
And it also says you should stay hydrated, especially during the summer.
Right.
Rome can get really hot.
It's the Mediterranean, right?
Yeah, and luckily there are lots of public fountains all over the city where you can refill your water bottle.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, it's a great way to save money and stay hydrated.
And the guide recommends exploring beyond the major tourist attractions, right?
Yeah, it says that some of the most charming and authentic neighborhoods are off the beaten path.
Like which ones?
Well, it mentions Monte in Trastevere as being really cool.
Okay.
Monte's known for its trendy boutiques and its bohemian vibe. And Trastevere is known for its narrow, cobblestone streets and its traditional trattorias.
So you can get a taste of real Roman life in those neighborhoods.
Yeah, and the guide says that the food in Trastevere is especially good.
I'm definitely adding that to my list.
Yeah, you should. And then, in terms of planning your itinerary, the guide recommends grouping nearby sites together.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so that you're not like crisscrossing the city all the time.
Right.
And it also says you should keep some cash on hand
Okay.
because not all places accept credit cards.
Good to know.
And finally, it says that the best times to visit Rome are spring and fall,
Okay.
when the weather is mild and the crowds aren't too bad.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And it also gives a good overview of all the different transportation options, like the metro, buses, trams, taxis, and even biking.
Wow. So they've got it all covered.
Yeah, they really do. So, I think after all this research, I'm definitely ready to book a trip to Rome.
Me too. It sounds amazing.
It does. And one thing that's really come through in all these sources is the enduring legacy of the Roman Empire.
Yeah, it's incredible how much of their influence is still visible today.
I know, right? Like their language, Latin, is the root of so many modern languages.
Right.
And their legal system has influenced legal systems all over the world.
And their architecture and engineering are still marvels to behold.
Yeah, and their art and literature have inspired countless artists and writers over the centuries.
It's like they left this indelible mark on Western civilization.
They really did. And, visiting Rome is like a way to connect with that legacy in a really tangible way.
Yeah, you're not just reading about it in a book. You're walking among the ruins, you're seeing the art, you're experiencing the culture firsthand.
Exactly. Like imagine standing in the Colosseum
Wow.
and thinking about the gladiators who fought there, the emperors who watched, the crowds who cheered.
It must be such a powerful feeling to connect with that history.
Yeah, and then imagine walking through the Roman Forum,